Hello and happy Wednesday. Today on the Busy Bride podcast, I'm coming to you solo to chat about how to choose the perfect location for your engagement session. There are lots of things to consider when making this decision, and I want to help make that decision easier since wedding planning is essentially just months of making decisions. So I'm really excited to talk about this. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to the Busy Bride podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Marie, and I created this podcast to help you research vendors and learn valuable advice as you plan the most special and true to you wedding day of your dreams. Let's get started.
Okay, I want to start off by getting on my little soapbox and saying how much I love engagement sessions. They are so much fun for me because I really get to know the couple I'm photographing since there's lots of time to chat, but I also get to get really creative with the photos since there's not really usually a tight timeline to stick to like there is in a wedding day. But that's just the me side of things. Engagement sessions are great for you for so many reasons as well. You get super high quality photos of you and your favorite person, all cute and lovey-dovey, so that's awesome. But beyond that, engagement sessions give you two a chance to get used to being in front of the camera before your wedding day. So it kind of helps you get all the jitters out so that when wedding day rolls around, you can be fully present in the moment because you trust your photographer to get incredible photos because they already did for your engagement session. You can just roll up to portrait sessions on wedding days and be like, yeah, I got this. I know it's going to be amazing. I look great. This is have fun. And the engagement photos can also be used like throughout the wedding process. So it's not just wedding day that it helps. You can use these photos for save the dates on your wedding website, for decorations at your cocktail hour, for table numbers or centerpiece decorations, welcome signs, seating charts. The opportunities are endless. And they also make great photos to print out and hang up because you'll most likely look more like your day-to-day self in your engagement photos than you will in your wedding photos. Like, you're gonna look amazing in both, but you get to show off more of your personal style with your outfits and hair and stuff in your engagement photos, as opposed to wearing like a white dress or a fancy suit with the little buttons you have to replace on your wedding day. So all in all, lots of reasons to love engagement sessions, but that is not the point of this episode. We are talking about how to choose the perfect location for your engagement session. And there are four main, categories to think about when choosing your engagement session location. Lots of subcategories within those main categories, but starting with these four will help you narrow down those subcategories until you feel really confident that you are choosing the perfect spot for your engagement photo shoot. So, the first thing to consider is this. Is there any spot that jumps out to you and your partner as having a very significant role in your relationship? Or a spot that you and your partner would just love to include in your engagement photos because you can't include it in your wedding photos? So, for example, do you have a bar that you guys always go to for drinks? Did you meet at a certain restaurant that you keep going back to for date nights? Do you always walk your dog in a park that you love and that's really, really beautiful? Are you museum buffs? Like, do you love to immerse yourself in art or in history? And if there's something like this that you're kind of thinking of, like, okay, yeah, there is that place that we love to go to all the time, then that's amazing. Now you have a really big factor to consider in choosing your engagement session location. And if not, don't panic because there's still three other categories to get to. So that's the first thing to consider is, okay, is there a spot that really defines our relationship where it plays a big part in our relationship that we'd love to include in our session? The second thing, or category to consider, is outside versus inside. Most engagement sessions happen outside just because there are so many more options outside. There are not many public indoor places for photo shoots, unfortunately. They do exist, and many of them are beautiful. They're just a lot harder to come by, if that makes sense. So, in deciding this outside versus inside, try to picture your engagement photos. Like, picture them already, you've already gotten it back. You got your gallery back, and it's pictures of you and your partner, all cute and lovey-dovey. Where are you? Like, what is the background to the picture? More often than not, your subconscious already kind of has an idea of what you're expecting for your photos, and you can use that in two ways. If you like the way your imaginary photos look, then go with that. Or if you look at them and think, we could do something better, we could do something more unique than that, then use that as kind of like a guiding star for figuring out if you're looking to do more inside or outside photos. With outside photos too, you got to consider weather. So that is a huge factor. And time of year will also have an impact on that. So that's something to consider. And then with indoor, you can just control things more often, but the lighting is going to be much different. So lots to consider there. But inside versus outside really will really help narrow down, like from all the possibilities, if that makes any sense. And also, a side note with this, for indoor sessions, we don't necessarily have to go to a public place. We can always do an in-home session. If you are like homebodies and you love your cozy little apartment, or you have these like huge windows that you just adore, or there's like an exposed brick wall that you just can't get enough of, or you just bought a house together and you want to celebrate that, in-home sessions are a great option. They're so much fun, and you get to be at home, which is amazing. And if you have pets, you can include them there very easily. So in-home sessions don't happen enough, I don't think, in my personal opinion. They're a great option. So that's something there. And then the third category to consider after, let's see, the first one was, is there any special spots? Second one, okay, inside or outside. Third category, nature versus city. Just two kind of like opposite vibes. With nature, there are so many options. We can go anywhere. We can go to the mountains. We can go to the woods. We can go to a wide open field. We can go by a lake. We can go to the beach, by the ocean. We can go to a flower garden. The world is literally your oyster here. So lots of options for the nature side of things. And for the city, there's lots of variation here too. Do you want to stay outside in the city and focus on the architecture or different landmarks or just like the hustle and bustle of being in a city? Or do you want to pop inside your favorite bar or your favorite coffee shop or a bookshop even? Is there a park in the city you love so you can get nature and city kind of all bunched in together? These are things to think about. And again, with like picturing your engagement photos back already, what do you picture? If you are scrolling on Pinterest and pinning ideas for your engagement session, what kind of photos are you pinning? Are they all outside photos? Are they in a city? Are they inside the bar? These are all things to pay attention to. And then the fourth and final category to consider is time of year, the season. Now, technically, you can have your engagement session like whenever the heck you want. But most couples choose to have their engagement sessions done pretty soon after booking their wedding photographer so that A, they can have their engagement photos done in time to use them to make save the dates, and B, they can capture the joy and bliss of being newly engaged and just capture that feeling super early on. So that's kind of like what some couples consider to do when booking their engagement session. So now looking at the 4 seasons. With spring and summer, you have the luxury of a late sunset. And that means you have flexibility for days of the week that you can have your session, which is oftentimes very beneficial because photographers tend to have their weekends booked up by weddings in the spring and summer. So that's a great part to having spring and summer sessions. And also with spring and summer, there's lots of green. So if you're a fan of like green leaves on the trees, that's a plus. There are various flowers in bloom depending on the month. So if you're a flower person, then that's something to consider as well. But then on the downside, you have evening thunderstorms to work around this time of year. There's lots of like pop-up storms that happen that you can't really plan for much in advance. And sometimes you just have to kind of wait and see what's going on because the storms still will get pushed back to later in the night, and you just never know. So that's the biggest thing, the downside, I guess, to consider. Also, it gets really, really hot. So if you're a big sweater or you hate the heat, then that's something to consider too. Now, for the fall, you have the gorgeous colors of the leaves, my goodness, especially here in Pennsylvania. But the sun starts to set a little bit earlier, which makes weekday options more difficult if you have a strict timeline for work. And then, so scheduling is also difficult because fall is also big for weddings and the weekends. So that's something to consider. But with the fall, you get to like layer really nicely because it's usually a little bit cooler. This year it was pretty warm all fall, but usually you're able to kind of layer a little bit with your outfits and have some more variation there. And then for the winter, the trees are bare, the sun sets earlier, but weekends are more likely available. And you get to use layers here too, with like a really cute coat. You can have accessories like hats and scarves and stuff. And you have the possibility of snow, which would be super cute. And it's also much less, like there's less people out and about if you are choosing to go in a public space. So there's pros and cons to every single season, and if you have the luxury of time to choose your ideal season, like you have a long engagement, now you know what to consider. That was a lot. That was a lot of information. How you feeling? I'll run through them one more time. The first thing to consider choosing your location, is there any spot or location that stands out to you as being significant in your relationship? Number 2, outside versus inside. Do you have like a vibe you're picturing? Do you, when you picture engagement session pictures coming back, are they outside? Are they inside? Number 3, nature versus city. Are you just surrounded by nature, or are you like in the hustle and bustle of the city with landmarks and like your favorite little nooks and crannies to go to? And then number 4, seasons. If you have the luxury of time, which season are you choosing? Okay. I hope this episode gave you some things to think about when choosing your engagement session location, because I want you to feel confident in making your decision because there's so many decisions to be made. But in all honesty, your engagement photos will be special no matter where they take place. If you love the location, it just adds to the specialness of the photos. I hope that's a word. Specialness. Anywho's, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Now, go hug your person, and I will see you next Wednesday.